Good evening and thank you for joining us. My name is Ian Berry. I'm Head of Sport Promotion at Motorsport UK. Welcome to the first in our series of webinars for clubs, which we have termed the Monthly Marketing Show. This is the first of 6 monthly sessions running through until early March. So please make sure you register for the rest of them, and hopefully these webinars will help you take your social media to the next level. Registration is via our website. Go to clubs and then webinars and you'll find it in there, but you will be sent a link automatically tomorrow anyway. We're very grateful to Andy Lambert, co-founder of ContentCal, for presenting these for us.
Wonderful. Thank you, Ian. And thank you everyone for joining today. So it's great to see so many people on here. So very quick introduction. So I'm Andy. I'm one of the founders of a company called ContentCal. You don't need to know too much about what that is or does. But the important thing is that before founding this business, we were a content marketing agency helping others build their content marketing plans for a few years. And in 2016, we built ContentCal to help people build their own content marketing plans. And that tool is now used by about 40,000 businesses across a range of different industries. But my personal interest in doing this is that I'm a passionate amateur racer. I wish I was better than I was. So realistically, this gives me immense pride to be able to deliver these sessions, because not only do I get to speak about my love of social media and how people can leverage such a powerful channel to promote their businesses and your clubs, it gives me immense pride because it talks about the promotion of the sport, and the more people that are aware of the wonderful things that are happening inside the world of motorsport, the better, as far as I'm concerned. So let's dive into the 3 points of the agenda today. So we're going to be talking about why a content plan is important. So clearly planning is always important, but we'll start to unpack that a little bit more around, critically, how do you create the perfect content plan that's really easy to understand and really easy to implement. Then we're going to bring this to life, showing you what a good content plan looks like. I'll be introducing you to a 6-step strategy, which sets a really simple framework to follow to make sure you're covering all of the points that are critical to doing social media well. And then finally, most importantly, we'll be giving you a whole bunch of free tools to bring this to life, because it's not just the knowledge that helps you do this, it's also having some tools that can help you bring it to life. So I'll be giving you a suite of free tools to go away with that will help you bring this to life. So ultimately, at the end of the next 45 minutes worth of me talking and 15 minutes Q&A after that, you'll have a great understanding of the tips, the tactics, and the tools you'll need to create the perfect content marketing strategy. So let's start by debunking a bit of a myth. As I said already, I've been in content marketing. So when I say content marketing, I mean every form of marketing that involves content. That could be social media, that could be a blog, that could be an email, for example. But for today, we're focusing specifically on social. But because we've been doing this for such a long time, we see so many people dipping their toe in the water of social media, coming out of it again, concluding, oh, it doesn't work for me, or I don't need social, or whatever. But the important point here is that many people miss the bigger opportunity that exists within social. And one thing that I really want to debunk right at the start is many people try and correlate posting on social. Let's say you've posted on Facebook. Many people expect to see immediate result off the back of it, like signups or subscriptions to something. But social media doesn't work like that. Social media works at a much broader level, but doesn't really work in terms of direct conversion like an email might. And this is the opportunity, is that 70% of people make a purchasing decision before contacting a supplier. Now, what that means in the context of clubs here is that what it takes, where social media is incredibly powerful, is in helping people understand that you exist and become aware that you exist as a club, and then start to be ingrained in your content and then start to make a purchasing decision. Ultimately, social media is much more powerful before someone is ready to commit or sign up to something. So it's incredibly powerful in helping people influence or helping influence people's decision-making. That is the power of social media. So to then think about this at a more specific level, the way that people make decisions And this is worthwhile us, and I appreciate this is a bit of a side note, but this is really worthwhile us being very cognizant of when we're going to market our clubs, our businesses, our products, or whatever, is that understanding how people buy products or commit to things is entirely irrational. Us as humans, we're incapable of making entirely rational decisions. That all of our decision making is both based on an emotional bias. And a key emotional bias before we make a commitment to something is trust. Trust is such a fundamental emotion to elicit when we're marketing things. And that is the most powerful emotion we want to elicit, because the feeling of trust means the feeling of connection. And that is the fundamental emotion that we need to evoke in people to make sure that they subscribe to something, they follow our page, or they join our latest club event, or whatever we're trying to do. It's all driven by trust. So let's start to make this a bit more practical, because that's the fluffy bit done with. Because ultimately, we now know that social media is incredibly powerful before someone's ready to make a purchasing decision or commit to something. And trust is the fundamental emotion that we want to evoke. So then let's introduce you to a bit more of a kind of logical, practical way of approaching marketing in general, and particularly our social media marketing. This is what we term as a marketing funnel. And it's a simplified way of looking at how people make decisions. Because ultimately, here we're presuming we want to grow our clubs, appeal to more members, appeal to a wider demographic, that kind of thing. So in order to do that, we need to be aware of our marketing funnel. At the very top is about awareness. And that's about, as the name suggests, people becoming aware that you exist. Fundamentally, nothing more complex than that. The next point after awareness is consideration. Consideration is when someone says, oh, actually, that exists. I've now got a choice. Could I do this or that? And consideration is the more kind of rational choice we make between different alternatives. Conversion, as the name suggests, is when people make a decision on something, commit to something, whatever that commitment might be, whether it's signing up for a webinar like today, or whether it's, taking part in a 12-car rally, whatever it might be. And then loyalty and advocacy, they're fairly self-explanatory. Once people have signed up to something, how do we make them loyal to us to keep on coming back, and then sharing through advocacy, sharing that with others. But the important part here of why I'm, explaining this marketing funnel is that the important part of when social media is really powerful, it's the top two parts of this funnel, awareness and consideration. And this is a really kind of the demonstration of what I said on the first slide, where people say social media doesn't work, is that many people are using social media incorrectly, thinking about it just purely from a conversion orientated perspective, trying to get people to sign up to something, rather than thinking, actually, social media is incredibly powerful in spreading broad awareness to increase the appeal and increase the amount of people that I potentially appeal to. So then once we built that appeal, we then can start to bring people down and funnel them down into whatever action we want them to take. But awareness and consideration is fundamental to our content plan. So let's zoom in on those top two parts of that marketing funnel. So the top two quadrants here relate to this emotional reaction. Like I was talking about, that fundamental emotion of trust. This awareness orientated activity is all about eliciting an emotion. And there's two types of emotion we want to elicit with people, which get people interacting with content. And that is the key word. We want interaction. So you have entertainment value content. We have entertainment value content, or we have inspirational value content. So entertainment, quizzes, giveaways, or games. So I'm going to call out giveaways here. Giveaways is one of the most powerful ways of building an audience and building a community. And giveaways work the best when they are run with a low value gift. People don't sign up to things where the prize is to win a car or something like that, because people think, we're never going to win that. The best giveaway we ever ran was a giveaway of Ed China's book, the guy that used to be on Wheeler Dealers. We did that for a car brand, and it had thousands of people comment on it. It was a signed copy of Ed China's book, but Ed signed that for free because we just sent him a message. And that was so powerful. And it's so powerful because it's entertainment value, right? Because it gets people behind things they're interested in. And the great thing about the content that we're talking about here from a motorsport perspective is that what we're talking about is fundamentally brilliant and very exciting. And it gets people fired up, right? So lots of people are very passionate about motorsport, including myself, as you can probably tell. Anyway, so that's where giveaways are great. So if we had a low value giveaway, encouraging people to comment. For example, let's kind of bring this to life. Let's say we were going to do a giveaway of a book. And in that giveaway, what we were going to encourage is to people to maybe answer a question that we've posed in our message, answer the question and submit that question into the comments of that Facebook post, for example. The most powerful thing about this is that each time someone comments on a post means your post gets shared to more people. Here is a very, very common misunderstanding of social, is that so many people think when you post on Facebook, everyone that follows you sees that post. Not true. About 5% at best of your followers actually see that post. Facebook do not show every one of your posts to every one of your followers. As a really important, I say Facebook, the same applies to every social media channel. The key thing that social channels are looking for in order to show your message to more people is an indication that that content is quality. So when we're talking about this giveaway orientated content, having lots of people comment on the content, comments are the most important things that you need to go for with your content. And if you take nothing else away from what I say over the next half an hour, take away this. Comments mean more than anything at all. Likes doesn't matter. It's better than nothing, but likes, shares, nothing in comparison to comments. Honestly, comments are king in social. So the more content that you can do that will get people commenting, the better your content will do. Your content will be shown to more of your followers. And most importantly is that, let's say Ian posted something on, say he had a Facebook page. Ian ran a club and he had a Facebook page. If I commented on his post, not only would his post be shown to more people that follow his page, his post would be shown to the people that follow me because I've commented on that post. So my followers see that I've commented on it. So going back to this funnel bit, the awareness bit gets bigger and bigger with the more comments you get on the content. And that is our fundamental job if we're looking at building awareness for our club and increasing our demographic, increasing our numbers of subscribers, whatever we're trying to do, is about increasing that top of the funnel. And that is where kind of giveaways and getting people to comment on your content is critical to doing that. So I've stressed that point enough, but there's lots of other things you can do at that entertainment value, but giveaways are probably, and quizzes are probably the easiest thing to do. Then you've got inspiration. So we're still talking at the very much top of the funnel. So this is once again, emotionally orientated content. And the kind of thing you can do in this is like endorsements and reviews. And a really powerful emotion to evoke is the fear of missing out, where something looked like it was really fun and I wasn't part of it. That's the kind of emotion we want to evoke here. So the more testimonials that you can get at this stage, the better. Because testimonials, and especially from your customers, is brilliant because you get to tag them into your posts and get them to comment on that content too, which once again has the same effect as that I've been talking about, which is increasing that awareness. And then we go into the bottom two quadrants here, which is about educating and convincing. So we're going into the consideration stage of this funnel. And once again, we're only thinking about these top two parts of this funnel when we're thinking about building content. So I'm not going to talk about this convincing stuff in the bottom right because, that's actually not so relevant for the use cases for clubs here. But things that are really useful here is this educational orientated content. And having had a look at a few of the clubs' Facebook pages in advance of this is definitely a gap and an area of opportunity. We spoke about the importance of building trust. The importance of building trust and how we build trust is rooted in how we help people, right? Helping people is the perfect way to generate and build trust. Building trust is the fundamental point of building a reputation. And we all want a good reputation for building our endeavors on. So education is critical to this. So whilst some of these examples might not be immediately applicable, the kind of things that you can do and things that would work so well for clubs is like, tips for clipping an apex at a particular corner or something like that, or how to perfect cadence breaking, for example, right? So those kind of things, me personally is, I'm a perfect target audience for anyone in the clubs really. It's because this is stuff that's going to help me. This is stuff that's going to help me become a better driver. And this is the stuff that builds trust. And that is such an important part of content. And there's so many things you could do here because people want to become, I don't know, whether it's a better driver, learn more about mechanics, learn more about like how to be a marshal, for example. I don't know, loads of things that you can do to help people become better at what they do. And we're going to talk about more about this, but hopefully that kind of sets the scene a little bit as to where content is really powerful and how this marketing funnel, you build your content around the top 2 tiers of this marketing funnel and how these are the types of content that could sit at each stage of these. So you might want to cross-reference some of these later on, but as Ian mentioned, this is all being recorded. Now, in order to build trust with someone, we need to educate them, as we've just been talking about. And in order to educate someone and help them, we need to know exactly who we're serving. Now, whilst I'm not going to go through this slide in particular, because this is a customer persona that we've built here at ContentCal, but I can't overstate the importance of having something like this for your clubs, for where the target audience that you want to gain off the back of this. So as part of your objectives as to growing your audience, right, there is a key target. And quite often there might even be a couple of personas. There might be a persona that you have today, which is your core demographic, right? The people that resonate with you the best. But there also might be a persona of the people you want to target. Maybe you want to appeal to a slightly younger demographic, for example. I don't know. But being able to start to really identify who it is that you want to attract and their interests. The more you can be specific about this particular persona, the better your content will be, because you can only really help people when you know them. So, and for example, like if I take our example here at ContentCal, which isn't relevant for clubs, in terms of the content here, but the principles are. For example, we know what people value, we know what people fear, we know the kind of industries they work in, we know their age demographic, we know their gender bias. So all of those things that help us create more relevant content, because as I said, the more you know someone, the better you can serve that person. Right, so that's quite a lot of preamble, but hopefully that sets the scene in terms of the importance of rooting your content strategy or rooting your content plan in a really solid strategy, and understanding, buyer behaviors is critical to that. So now we set the scene here. Before we create this strategy, and we're going to bring one to life in real time right now, is that we need to know 3 things. We've already spoken about this, who you're targeting, fundamental to this. We can't do this until you are really clear about who you want to appeal to. We need to be clear about why you are doing it. So is it to increase your followers? Is it to drive traffic to a website? Is it to increase signups to a certain event? Whatever you're trying to do, the more clear you can be with that, the more defined you can be with the objectives, the better the results will be. And I think that logic applies for most things in life, really, but it's critical for this. And also, this is probably a bit of a different one, is like, what do you want to be known for? Social media, despite all its foibles, and I'll be first to admit that it's not the panacea and the ability to solve everything, but social media has one of the most powerful parts of social media is that it has the ability to humanize a brand beyond anything else. And that is the thing that's so incredibly powerful about social media. Not just the fact it's used by pretty much all of humanity now, it's the fact that actually it gets inside a business. So rather than a club being a logo on a website, it can connect people at a personal level with a club. And that is fundamental in helping drive a business and drive your club forward. So what do you want to be known for is going to become quite clear as we do this, and we're going to help you understand and kind of unpack that. And what we're going to be doing when we're starting to build this strategy now, we're going to start to define what we want to be known for in this example. By no means am I saying this should apply to every club, absolutely not. But I'm going to give you an example as to how we define that. Because the more clear we are of what we want to be known for, what we stand for, and what we're going to be talking about, the more that will build trust. Because essentially, let's take an example of Ian. So we want to humanize a brand, for example, and humanize the clubs. Like, for example, we want to humanize it to a point where, oh, I know Ian. Ian's great because he's funny. He's a great communicator, that kind of thing. And we want to be able to, the same way that we would describe people as having certain attributes, we want people to be able to describe our own clubs as having these certain attributes. So that will become clear as we go on, but hopefully that makes sense. So this 6-step content strategy is a critical and central part of this. So the ContentCal 6 C's, so nice and easy to remember. So starts with a customer, goes on to context, which is how do we get the right content for this customer and what they're interested in. Talk about creativity. So we'll only touch on this at a very high level because we could talk for an hour just on creativity and how to create content. So we'll touch on that briefly. The importance of collaboration and how you can work with other people, other team members. If it's not even in a team member, it can be with your club members to increase collaboration, which increases better content. The channels and how we publish it, and then calculation, which is the analyzing of the results. So it's a cycle for a reason, because it gets quicker and quicker each time we go around one of these revolutions. So here's a screenshot of all of the tools that I'm going to be going through. I'm going to be going through them one at a time, so you don't need to worry about this slide particularly. But this is where that you might want to reference the recording off the back of this, because it does go into quite a bit of detail to bring this to life. So in this scenario, we're going to create, we've got a fictitious club here, and we're going to create a content plan from scratch. So this is a kind of key section today. And I'm just going to do a quick time check to see how we're doing. Yeah, perfect. Bang on time. So we're going to start with customer, and we're going to go on to this tool called Ubersuggest. So this is called ubersuggest.com. And all the tools I'll go through now, I hasten to add, have a free version or are entirely free, which includes the tool that I represent. So whilst I am the founder of ContentCal, or one of the founders, you can do this without using ContentCal. It's worthwhile saying. And I'm not affiliated in any way with any of these tools, naturally, other than ContentCal. So I just want to make that clear, because these are tools that I've used and loved over many years. Anyway, now we got that bit out of the way. So what we're going to do, ubersuggest.com, and what we want to do is really just at a very high level, understand the trends in our industry. So I'm going to search the word motorsport, really general. And we just want to search in the UK. And here, what it's telling us is the search volume. So before we talk about social, we want to think about what people are where people are going to ask questions, which is typically Google. So really, to get inside the mind of a customer, we want to have a look at what they're searching for on Google. So with that in mind, we can see there's really good search volume and it's going up. So that's quite good. And there's seasonal peaks as well, where people are searching more for motorsport, which is actually going to be quite interesting for how we build our strategy. We can also see, how much of this is, you see this green here, you might not be able to see that because it's quite small. Green represents SEO. What SEO basically is non-paid for Google search results. So in fact, lots of motorsport orientated content is appearing in Google that doesn't cost anything to appear in Google. So that's really interesting to know. And it's also really interesting to see the searcher's age range. So here at the bottom, if you can see that, we can see that the demographic predominantly skews 55 to 64, with the lowest index being under 18, which obviously stands to reason, but also stands to see like a slightly aging demographic for the people that are searching motorsport in the predominance. So that's very interesting for us, getting a bit of a picture of our customer persona as well that we were talking about. So already we've got a bit of interesting insight off ubersuggest.com. But moving on, and we're going to stick with Ubersuggest, and we're going to press this little icon here that looks like a light bulb. And when people are searching motorsport, they're actually searching things more specific to motorsport. So actually, we're starting to look underneath these search results. So typically at a high level, people are searching around motorsport is growing. There's some seasonal peaks, but we're going to go underneath that. And we can see what are people searching for pertaining to motorsport. Motorsport UK, which is obviously good to know. Motorsport magazines, obviously popular. But interestingly, we're seeing lots of things about like motorsport news, motorsport jobs, tools, that kind of stuff. So already we're starting to get a bit of a picture of what our ideal customer is searching for. And this is where it goes back to this whole kind of awareness piece, that top of the funnel thing, because ultimately what we're trying to do is get inside the minds of our customers so that we're providing content to them that's going to be interesting for them. So we're going to kind of make a note of some of these, and we can just copy and paste these into an Excel document if we want to, which is a good thing just to note, because we can actually see quite how many searches there are. And I think thinking about things about motorsport jobs and in particular is actually interesting, because we're going to see as we do a bit more research, there's a lot of interest around careers or potential careers in motorsport. So maybe that's one of those things we want to get known for. So I'm going to be returning back to this point of what do we want to be known for a few times. But anyway, so that's Ubersuggest. So we've already started to get some interesting insight, but we're going to go a rung deeper now. So we're going to go to the second tool, which is called keyword.io. Once again, entirely free. You don't even need to create an account. I'm going to search the word motorsport, look in the UK once again, and this is going to start to pull back the most popular searches. So with Ubersuggest, we just searched motorsport in general and just wanted to see the trends on that and see some of the things that sit under motorsport, like people searching for motorsport jobs or careers, etc. But now we're actually wanting to get specific into what are the most popular search terms related to motorsport. So as you can see, there's a lot that relates to kind of brands in motorsport, for example, like racing teams, for example, or parts manufacturers, etc. But there's also a load of questions around like best colleges for motorsport engineering. So there's definitely like a careers theme emerging here. So potentially, if it were me building content for a club, I would be looking at actually, there's clearly a lot of interest around careers in motorsport. So that could definitely be a theme we could work to. Now, talking of themes, we're going to create 5 of them. So in doing this, what we're going to do to make our content plan really simple when we build it, we're going to create 5 themes. And each day of the week, we're going to run a different theme. The great thing about this and running in like a themed and episodic way, it means that you get much better engagement because people expect to see things like on Tuesday, you do something about X, and Wednesday, you do something about X, and you get much better engagement that way. And also it makes the whole process of planning so much simpler because essentially you're building it like a TV schedule. Each day is a different theme, which takes all of the guesswork out of what shall I post today out the window, because you now know exactly what you're going to do. So we're going to create these themes, and this is really what we want to be known for. So one of these themes could be careers in motorsport. Now, there's also lots of other questions around games, for example, Forza Motorsport. So I'm a nerdy gamer. I love Forza. So, maybe if we're trying to appeal to a slightly younger demographic, maybe there is a gaming type of theme here, potentially. So, like I said, some of this you might not necessarily agree with for the demographic you want to target, but hopefully this makes sense as an example. Then there's also a lot of questions around like best motorsport books. So going back to the quadrant that we were showing earlier, and when I was talking about like helping people and educating people, and that's how we build trust. So those kind of things, like doing a comparison on like, here's the best motorsport books, here's the books that we love and the books we can't put down around motorsport, or the best books we've ever read regarding motorsport, content around that. Clearly there's a lot of interest in it. And also that's just really great engaging content. Or we could do a question. It could be a post that's framed as a question, be like, tell me the best book on motorsport you've read. Once again, you're going to get lots of answers and responses to that, increasing comments, increasing engagement. All of this really it helps kind of let creativity foster a little bit and lets creativity flourish, it's a better word to use, is that because now we're starting to understand what our potential audience are interested in, it becomes much easier to start creating content about. So we've got a theme about careers. We've got a theme about gaming potentially. We've got a theme about like best books or kind of comparison guides. And then we've got a theme like doing a similar vein about motorsport documentaries. And maybe documentaries and books could be in one theme. Maybe we'll just call that theme like guides. But, you know, we've got 3, maybe 4 potential themes emerging here. So now we're going to go even one rung deeper. So this is the final bit of customer research here. And this tool looks a bit overwhelming, but it is super powerful. Once again, entirely free. You don't need to create an account. It's called answerthepublic.com, www.answerthepublic.com. Go there. I've searched the word motorsport and I've kept this purposely generic. And then this is basically loads of questions that are asked on Google pertaining to the word motorsport. And you can play around with different, I've just put in motorsport here. You might want to play around with different things. You could put in, you know, auto solo, 12-car rally, whatever. And these will be the questions that people are asking on Google around that specific subject. Once again, helping you get more and more relevant with your type of audience. But what we're seeing here is actually quite interesting. So we're seeing like motorsport for dummies, motorsport for the masses, motorsport for 14-year-olds, motorsport for beginners. So like cheapest motorsport to get into. So there's a lot around like early days or entry to motorsport. And to be honest, from my own perspective, I got my racing license literally a year ago. And I had no idea what to do with it after I did it, because I just wanted to do it because it was fun and I wanted to get a racing license. But I didn't know what to do with it. I had no idea what to do with, like, didn't even know that clubs existed. So all of that was, you know, if I had found some content to like, what is the best motorsport to get into? Never even knew that, you know, auto solos existed or a 12-car rally existed. No idea. So all of those kind of things were unknown to me because I was just looking at circuit racing, and circuit racing is heinously expensive. So, yeah, so that is a really, sorry, it's a complete personal side note on that one, apologies, but it goes to show like how relevant some of this stuff is, because I can resonate with this absolutely from my own perspective. So this is going to help us once again develop our themes. And just like we've seen on every tool we've used so far, we can download this and just copy and paste it into an Excel document. Because right now, from these 3 tools that I've just shown you, you have all of the research you need to understand your customer and what they're asking for. And already we've got some really nice themes evolving. We can be talking about best careers in motorsport and what are the jobs in motorsport and how people get into those. We could be talking about like the best books and documentaries on motorsport, for example. We can talk about early days into motorsport and how people get into it, and budget access to motorsport, and, you know, interviews with others as to how they got started. And then we've also got things like, it could be around gaming, like getting people to share pictures in there of their gaming experiences, for example. And I appreciate that might be quite, looking at some of the other Facebook pages and such, that would be quite far removed from where we are today. But if the objective is to appeal to a younger demographic, that will be a way to do it. So we now have a really good picture of our customer and what they're searching for, and our content plan is already going to be rooted in research. So then we've got context. So in context, what we're just going to simply do, and what we've done here, is take, you know, a download of this Excel file, and we're going to put it in ContentCal. Now, as I said, you don't need to use ContentCal to bring this to life, but ultimately you're going to need a tool to make organization easier and make kind of being consistent easier, because the critical part of all of this is being consistent, because you don't get results overnight, and it's a case of continually having good research and continuous execution against that research. So what we're going to do in ContentCal, we've just literally copy and pasted these bits out. We've just pressed download here, and we've copy and pasted, and we pop it in ContentCal, which then sits at the top of our calendar here as content ideas. So we're never going to run out of content ideas again, because in that customer research phase that we spent the last 10 minutes or so talking about, we know everything that our potential audience are searching for. So, and we've got that right in the place where we're going to be doing all of the planning and publishing. I'll be coming back to that point. So 3 more tools to show you, actually. So this one is called Hype Auditor. Now, this is the only one that has a free trial and a free version of, but there is a paid version of this, but you might want to just have a little play around with this. Now, the important part about this, and this is all we've done here, is gone onto Hype Auditor, and you would need to create an account on this one. And I've searched the word motorsport, and it's pulled back the most influential people around the word motorsport. So as I said, we might want to be a bit more specific than that. But ultimately, we can start to look at those people on different channels and seeing how many followers they have. And what I'm not talking about here is, paying people to promote our clubs. It's about getting people to collaborate and share content. For example, right? Let's say, rally and race cars. This channel on Instagram have, nearly 27,000 followers. So our job, really, if we're trying to raise awareness and increase that top of the funnel, is to try and get our content into as many new places as possible. So putting out a post about show us your best rallying picture, and then tagging in Rally Racing 2018, getting them to comment on your content. And if they do, then that means whatever they're commenting on will appear in their feed. So naturally, what we've just done is increased, if we just applied that rule and, they replied back with a couple of their favorite rallying pictures, I don't know, that is then going to put your content in 27,000 more feeds, potentially. Like I said, not everyone sees everything, but it now has the potential of going that much further. That just goes to show how important collaboration is. And that is so much easier when you're working in an industry that is a passionate one. Because, if you're working in the construction space, like lots of our clients are, you can't really do that because no one's particularly excited about construction. People are massively excited about motorsport. It's a brilliant subject matter. Lots of people want to talk about it. So it's a fantastic one to build collaboration around. Just tagging people, the right people into your content is going to be so brilliant for driving bigger growth. So that's what we're going to do to start kind of bringing this stuff to life. Because we know some people we want to mention, we are just literally going to go into ContentCal, and all we've done is copy and paste these people out into what's called snippets on ContentCal. And the important point here is, and where ContentCal kind of fits into this, is taking all of this research and then stitching it together into a plan. But as I said, you don't have to use ContentCal, but there's a free version and it will make your life around this much, much easier. So we're going to save that as a snippet. I'm going to show you how we use that later, but essentially all we've done is copy and paste that. Then we've got 2 more tools to show you. Besthashtags.com. No prizes for guessing what this one is about. Now, because we're in this context stage of this cycle, we already know what our customer's interested in, but we're trying to drive relevance. And this is where hashtags is really important. So using hashtags wisely. So here, this is the most popular and most liked Instagram hashtags related to motorsport. So using our hashtag, or using the right hashtag, once again, like I said, with commenting or mentioning the right people in your content, means that your content goes in so many more feeds. Because if people are following hashtags, like I follow hashtag motorsport, for example, I might not be following your club, but if you post and have a hashtag motorsport, because I follow that hashtag, I will see your content, and the same, I appreciate I've made that quite personal, but that's the same for everyone. So that's where hashtags is really important to drive awareness for new audiences. And here we're looking at, on the right-hand side, we're looking at the most popular hashtags for Twitter and Facebook. Now, this kind of goes to show, and this is all on besthashtags.com. You don't need to create an account on this. Goes to show the amount of posts that happen related to this. And it goes to show the potential of this, how much content is being spoken about with regards to motorsports, sorry. And that's a really important point to mention, is like, look how much more there is for motorsport photography rather than motorsports photography. So this is where, tools like this are just invaluable in making sure you've got absolutely bang on the right hashtags that you're using. And then what we're going to do is return back to the snippets on ContentCal. So we're going to take all of those Instagram hashtags. We've just copy and pasted them and plop them in here. Same with Twitter and Facebook hashtags, pop them in. So saving them as snippets mean that all we're going to need to do is press one button to use them when we're creating our posts. So we do our research once, and we don't need to keep on referencing these different tools. We're going to use all of these tools to do the research, and ultimately we're going to use one tool to bring it together, which is ContentCal in this case. So here, we're still looking at ContentCal here. Here is where we're going to be creating these category tags. These category tags relate to content themes that we've been talking about, the things you want to be known for. Like we've been looking at through the research, we've got a careers theme. The careers theme will be talking about potential jobs in motorsport. That it's not just about racing driving, it'll be mechanic, be marshal, whatever. And also be talking about themes around best colleges for motorsport engineering, for example. Then we've got a potential review thing, because as we saw, there's a lot of searches around like best motorsport books, best documentaries on motorsport, that kind of thing. So we could do reviews. There's gaming, because quite clearly that's probably one of the biggest searched things around particular game of Forza, for example, but how that applies. There's clearly huge interest in photography, like the fact that motorsports photography, there's that many posts around it. So maybe there's a whole theme we can own about photography, getting people to submit their photos, because that creates much more comments on content. And I think I've stressed the importance of comments quite a lot throughout the course of this. And then get into motorsport is another theme that we're going to create here, because as we saw when we were looking at Answer the Public, that kind of big fan of like circles of searches, clearly one of the most popular or frequently queried questions is, how do I get into motorsport, budget motorsport, like avenues in motorsport, that kind of stuff. So there are themes, and we've set them in ContentCal, and we've given them an associated color code, because that makes organization so much easier. Once again, as I've been saying, like we're taking all of the research from all of these tools, we're taking that research, maybe adding it to an Excel document or whatever, but then ultimately we're popping it in ContentCal to make sure we've got a central tool to organize it all. And that takes us to the final tool. Let me just do a quick time check. So the final tool, which is daysoftheyear.com. And this is a tool that's going to give you an ability to understand all of the national days that are upcoming. Every week there is a new national day of something. Some of it's not relevant, but let's take, last week there was Stress Awareness Day. Now, this might seem a bit of a random one, but all of these national days have an appropriate hashtag. So on Days of the Year, it will tell you what that hashtag is. It's usually pretty simple, like hashtag Stress Awareness Day. But like we could even do something for Stress Awareness Day as a club, because the best way to bust stress this hashtag Stress Awareness Day, get out on track or do whatever, something related to that. So, I've always found motorsport a fantastic stress reliever. So that was actually a really good example as I was building this. Not all of it's relevant, but the great thing about this is that we know in advance that these hashtags will trend on that certain day, is that there will be loads of content for Stress Awareness Day, for example. And that is a way to get your content in many more feeds. So then that leads on to creativity. The next section starts to go a little bit quicker, actually. So here, what we're looking at is an opportunity to kind of save articles as we go. So there is an opportunity, and this is once again entirely free. If you use Google Chrome, you can search ContentCal for Chrome. And then whenever you find an interesting article, when you're browsing the web, you can press this button. So press this little kind of ContentCal icon, and you'll find an interesting article, and you'll press Add to Library. So what that does, and this is on ContentCal again, this allows you to kind of put a pin in interesting things you found. So these are some interesting articles that I found over the last week, and I've just pinned it to our library here. once again, this is going to really speed up creativity, because not only do we have all of the research that we've just done from all of these tools, we've got our 5 themes like careers, gaming, get into motorsport, photography, those kind of things. So we've already got like a thing that we're going to do on each individual day. And now we've added into that, you know, inspirational things that we found across the week. So we've got so much now to build content across, and so much inspiration, and that is critical to speeding up creativity. Another important part of creativity is around collaboration. And here in this example, this is where we're back in ContentCal again, and in this section called the Content Hub, and it's called the library within that. And the idea around this is not just to save articles like we've just did a second ago, but here we can ask for contribution. So for example, we can have people email in ideas into ContentCal. You know, these might be members, this might be other people that work with us, that fellow volunteers within the club, that are just sharing ideas of like, oh, we could do something about this, we could do something about that. The best ideas are created together. And when you provide a bit of a platform for people to work together, yeah, it makes this whole process so much easier, rather than one person thinking like, all right, what am I going to post today? Because you're never going to run out of ideas again. If you do good research, you save some interesting articles and stuff, and you get other people to share their thoughts. There's just so much you can build from that. And then we get to channels. So let's bring this together. So we're in the final throes of this. So probably 2 to 3 more minutes of me waffling before we're going to go to questions. So here we're back in ContentCal. We've got our content ideas saved at the top, which we've taken from Answer the Public, if you remember that. We've also got our kind of national days penned in at the top of the calendar. So we make sure we've taken that from daysoftheyear.com that we were just looking at. So we make sure we don't miss those potential national days. Then we go back to this Content Hub, and here we can have a look at some of the articles that we've saved previously and some of the things that have been submitted by others. Let's take this photo of a track day, for example. I've used generic examples of a track day. I know that isn't appropriate for every club, but just work with me on this generic example. So here, let's just say someone submitted this track day photo of this MX-5, and we press use content. So we want to take that. So let's say actually, you know, it was one of our members that did that and sent it in to us. So it could be like, yeah, nailing those APCs, great picture, you know, at that person, because we want to tag them, because naturally you want them to comment on that content, for example. So we're going to tag this with one of our content themes. We're tagging this with photography. And the really important thing, we're going to do this because it helps us organize our content, because each individual day we want to run a different potential theme: photography, careers, get into motorsport, those themes that we've come up with. But also what we're going to do is press basically we're going to add that into our calendar now. So once we've added that into our calendar, we're now going to create a new post. So what we're going to just do here, sorry, I didn't demonstrate that very well. So we're going to add that post to our calendar. But when we go and when we want to create a brand new post, we're just going to click into our calendar here and say, on Friday, we want to create a new post. We're going to click into this. And let's say we want to create a, you know, let's pick up on this kind of book review type of thing, where we want to run a competition to get people to answer a question so that they can chance to win a book. So a book called The Unfair Advantage by Mark Donoghue in this example, because I like that one. So actually what I'm showing you here is you've got a stock image library on ContentCal. So for example, if you don't have a picture of Mark Donoghue, I've just literally searched it and there's a load of free images that you can use. So, you know, we want to use a picture of his Can-Am 91730 here. So we're going to add that in. So I've added a bit of post content here. The best motorsport book ever written. For us, it can only be The Unfair Advantage by Mark Donoghue. To win a copy, can you name the potential BHP of this? And here we've category tagged this as a review. So it's kind of like it's book orientated content, like we were talking about. And here, what we're going to do is press this little snippets icon. I spoke about snippets earlier. But like I said, you've done your research already. So it becomes, if you save this as snippets, we can just go ahead, just press the influencers we want to mention, bring in those hashtags with just one single click. So the point is we do our research once and it becomes so much easier to use and manifest that. And then we're going to go ahead, choose the networks we want to post this to, because it might not just be Facebook we want to post to, we want to post to others as well. And that's a great thing about using a tool like ContentCal. It means you can put the same message across multiple platforms, so you can really start to expand your reach. So we're going to just add that post. So we add that post, and we've also added a whole bunch of others, and we've tagged them all as the relevant content theme, like photography, review, gaming, etc. And we've popped them all in ContentCal. We've popped them all, and we've got the same content going across multiple channels in this example. And ContentCal will automatically publish all of these for you. So the important thing is here, you do your content planning at the beginning of the week, you schedule all of this in, and then all of that content gets automatically posted for you. And once it gets automatically posted, you can then go into the calculation stage, which will help you understand how your audience has grown, how your engagement's grown, so which is your likes, shares, and comments. And most importantly, as we bring in these category tags on the right-hand side, that we can start to understand how does our content, how did it perform across your different themes? Like did photography perform better than gaming, or did early days or get into motorsport perform better than your careers orientated content? So it helps you segment that, so you can really start to understand the type of content that's resonating with your audience, along with how your audience is growing on different platforms and the best time to post. So you can really start learning from experiences so that you can once again create better content going forward. And the final thing to say here is that we can also see precisely at a content level the types of posts that worked the best, that drove the best engagement. So all of that's presented back to you. And then you can, if you want to kind of reuse the stuff that worked really well. So whilst I wouldn't advocate you taking the same thing and reposting the same thing exactly, it does really help you build a template for going forward. So let's just say the photography theme worked really, really well. We got loads of engagement. And what we would do here is just press this little kind of arrow icon, which adds this post as a draft to next week's plan. So let's just say, this picture post of a MX-5 did really well. We want to put a note in our calendar to make sure we do more content related to that. Because the point being here is that this is a cycle for a reason. So we do our research, we get good understanding of our customer, we get good context, and this is where most of the tools that I've shared with you exist in. But then when we understand our customer, it becomes much easier to create good content. Good content is fostered by getting other people involved to contribute to that. Then it becomes easier to plan that content across those multiple channels. And you can use a tool like ContentCal to automatically post it, which takes a huge amount of headache and effort away, and then analyzing the results. The more we analyze the results of that, the better our understanding of our customer is, and the better our content is moving forward. And this cycle gets quicker and quicker as we move forward. So I have overrun by 10 minutes, and for that, I apologize, but let's dive into a bit of Q&A. But hopefully that was useful, interesting, and let's have a check at some of the Q&A. But yeah, feel free, Ian or Claire, if you want to jump in and prompt me with any questions.
Okay, so we've got about 6 here. The first one is, which you kind of covered. How do you get comments on Twitter as no one adds comments they just like?
So you can reply to, it's a good question, Amanda. So you can reply to comments on Twitter. So it's one of your options. So you can like it, you can retweet it, or you can reply to a tweet. So you're right in my terminology, because I've been saying comments. Twitter doesn't see it as comments, but they see it as replies. But yeah, the same rules apply to that though. Getting more people to comment on the content is critical.
Okay, Mike Griffith says, when commenting on a Facebook post, does it matter what the comment is? Can it be a simple one-word comment? Will that reach more people compared to likes and shares?
Fabulous question, Mike. So 2 ways to answer that is yes, one-word comments are fine because it's still more comments. That is absolutely fine. So if people are just entering a competition, no problem. More people commenting is better, definitely, and that would still beat likes and shares for increasing the engagement of that. Just the one word of caution though, because some people do try and hack Facebook in a way that let's just say I regularly post on Facebook and I asked maybe Ian and Claire always to comment on my posts. Facebook will notice specific trends where the same people continually say the same thing. For that, Facebook will start recognizing those patterns over time. But if that's not a consideration, or so I'd just definitely advise against trying to find a way to manipulate that. If that's not a consideration, one word comments are absolutely fine though.
Good. Right. Actually, you mentioned the word hack. I've got one here from David James. He said, any advice on this situation? My Facebook account was hacked. By the time I realized, Facebook had disabled the account and the hacker had spent on advertising on my debit card, which had linked to the Facebook account to promote some postings some month previously. Facebook refunded the advertising charges, but refused to re-enable my account. So I created a new Facebook account.
Yeah, wow, that is one very specific, and that is a nightmare situation, David. So yeah, my sympathy on that one. And obviously you've clearly recognised. Yeah, I'll call this point out, and I hope you don't mind me calling out David. Sorry, because it makes perfect sense. Is like you mentioned. I now realise only having one admin is a major mistake. So that's a really good point and a learning for everyone just on this call. And I hope you don't mind me calling this out, David. Is that whenever you have admins of Facebook, just have multiple admins, so you've got less points of failure. So that it is a nightmare, because Facebook are such a big organization. Getting hold of anyone is very, very hard. You have my email address on the screen, David, so I'm happy to pick this up with you directly and give you a bit of extra guidance on it, as it's very specific. Facebook is a nightmare you could have a human interaction with, for sure. But I think the learning for everyone is make sure you have multiple admins on your Facebook account, just in case anything happens in the future. So
right,
yeah.
There's quite a lot more questions come in very quickly all of a sudden. Andy Lawrence said, this was quite early on in your presentation, he said, how do we establish what our target persona is? How do we decide which age we want people to be when we know we have a spread from 18 to 80 and we have people competing at 14? How do we know what their interests are? I think, to be honest, you covered that as you went through your presentation.
The only thing I'll add, because definitely the research on those tools will definitely help you with that, Andy. And I imagine I answered some of this, but the core point is like, try and be as defined as possible. That if you think that the type of audience you really want to appeal to, that potentially drive the best result for you, whatever that result is try and focus on them as much as possible. So that would be my thing. And we can make some estimations as to the kind of things that are going to appeal to certain age demographics. For example, I've been speaking a bit about gaming, for example, and getting into motorsport. There'll be lots that would appeal from like age of 14 upwards, for example. So, but that all of that can become quite clear. Is that one, be very clear on the persona that really you think, I want to get more of this, or I want to expand that persona and really appeal to this audience. Once you focused on that, then it's going to help you using the right kind of research, help you in your research phase, basically. Because I only showed a general example of me going onto all these tools and just searching motorsport. But as soon as you get more specific than that, like it might be rallying, for example, you're going to see lots of different answers to come back from that, and you'll see some different understandings of how you can manipulate your strategy as a result of that. But yeah, really good question, Andy.
Okay, one from Amanda says, do you have to have a Facebook business account to post in advance?
No, you do not. So if you're using, when you say posting in advance, I'm presuming you're meaning like scheduling content, like I've been talking about with ContentCal, i.e., scheduling it, queuing it up to say, I'm going to post this at 3 p.m. Thursday or whatever. No, as long as you have a Facebook page or a Facebook group, either of those you can add to something like ContentCal to schedule your content to. The only thing you can't schedule and preload content for is a Facebook profile. But I imagine most people are operating a page or a group currently.
Okay, comment from Graham Forrester, which he's put a couple of times. He says, great presentation, but it assumes that viewers have knowledge of Facebook, etc., way above what they actually have. A slower, more basic tuition would be good. Graham, Andy and I will talk about that after the show. Maybe we can convince them to do something like that. Although we did do a webinar, which is still on our webpage about Facebook, so you can have a look at that if you want to base some basic instruction, which Sarah and Ben did. John Aston says, is ContentCal better than Meet Edgar?
Yeah, well, how am I going to answer that one? Yeah, I mean, Meet Edgar, just so everyone knows, is another kind of auto posting like scheduling tool, which ContentCal does. The important point of differentiation here is that, one, you can use ContentCal for free, and two, ContentCal is fundamental. And the most important part that I think I probably expressed that is the most important part is creating that plan and having a really well structured built plan laid out like this. So yeah, that's something that other people don't do, because it's critical to organize content, because you'll get much better result from a better plan.
Okay, Kate Neal says, would posting about our sprint committee be worthwhile doing? Is this too personal?
So whilst I can't necessarily comment on the sprint committee necessarily, because I don't know it enough, but I'll answer the point about, is it too personal? The great thing about social is that, I was about to say nothing's too personal, but that's not strictly true. But the more human you can make your content, the better it will be, and the better the reaction will be. So like I said, going back to the point about like social is incredible at humanizing a brand. So if talking about your sprint community is a great way of like humanizing what you do and helping you think it will help people connect with you more, then definitely that's the right thing to do.
Okay, thank you. Shell Garlic says, I am from the British Women Racing Drivers Club, so I would need to filter the Uber suggests, etc. websites by demographic. Is that possible?
Brilliant question, Shell. What you would simply do, because I just searched the word motorsport, but actually on that slide, you would see in some of the most popular search, you'd see women in motorsport. So actually I would just search, rather than just searching general motorsport, just search women in motorsport, and basically orientate all the tools that I've shown you today, rather than just searching general motorsport, search women in motorsport, and there's a whole load of stuff, and you get some really good stuff. So to be honest with you, I'm really excited about the kind of content you could create off that, because that is yeah, it's a brilliant subject matter, and there's going to be loads of stuff to create around that. Feel free, because I end up getting carried away and excited with loads of ideas and stuff. But if you ever do want any kind of ideas or whatever, feel free to drop me a personal note on that. My email's on the screen. Cool.
Okay, we got 3 more. Grace King says, what is the best social media platform to focus your club's admin attention on, particularly to direct people to your website?
Great. Okay, brilliant question. We are getting some very, very good questions. So thanks, Grace. Directing people to your website is an interesting one, because posting direct links on any social channel, they hate it, right? So if you create a post that says, come sign up for our latest event, here's the link, that doesn't go to, it goes to about 80% fewer people than if you posted a post with an image. So that's the first point to note, is that the first point to note is that on social media channels, they don't like links. Now, I'm trying to think of the best way I can demonstrate this. Don't worry, I'll end up going into too much detail. But essentially, the thing you could do, I've got 2 ways of answering that question. The thing you could do is that if your objective is to get people back to your site, which it is in many cases, is that I would create an image post, use whatever bit of imagery you need, create a bit of text, and then within the text of your post, put the link. But the point here is that it means that it's not like a link post, it's seen as an image post. So as long as you're uploading an image, you'll be good, because Facebook don't like link posts basically. So, and you'll be able to tell this really quickly, because if you went on Facebook and, went to create a new post and just copy and pasted in a link, it will immediately generate a little preview of that link. That's what you don't want, because Facebook just don't like traffic going away from their website. So that's one tactical way around it. Hopefully that makes a degree of sense. I feel like I waffled. But the other point is that there is no social media channel or social media network that's better for sending people back to your website. The key about social media and where it's important is that people will find their own way to your website. Our job doing social media marketing is raising the awareness of the clubs and what we do and getting more people aware of what we do. And as a result, more signups will be driven off the back of it. Getting people visiting a website is actually an easy thing to do. Getting more people aware of your content and reaching new eyeballs is the thing we're trying to do here. So that's the way I'll answer that question. And I appreciate I didn't directly answer it, but hopefully made sense.
Okay, thanks for that. Sorry, I apologize. My backdrop has gone back to my study. It falls out of bed sometimes. Sorry. Ian Crombie says, should you use the same message across all channels, or are you better varying it? It seems to be more acceptable to be jokey on Twitter rather than Insta, for example.
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily subscribe to completely different things on different networks. For me personally, especially if you're early on in doing this, is that put the same message across multiple platforms. The reason I say that is that will give you the best analysis. So if I go back to here, you'll see that I've got the same message on multiple platforms, because when we're analyzing the results of this, it gives us our most scientific way of understanding what's working the best. If you're doing different things on different platforms, you're never going to get a true understanding in your early days of what's working best. And the point is that that will change over time as you start to build up bigger communities on certain things. Let's say Twitter starts to work really well for you, then naturally you might develop a slightly different tone as things move forward. But in the early days, until you've got empirical data that tells you otherwise, put the same message across all channels, talk in a tone that is relatable and comfortable to you, and it will change as over time, I would say. So that is a good question, Ian.
Okay, we got two more. One from Charlie. Oh, the screen's moving. Charlie Francis says, how often would you expect a club to be posting content? We're a small club and it will fall to one or possibly two people to use something like ContentCal. So time to spend on this is limited. Are we better to have fewer high quality posts?
Yeah, that is a brilliant question. So ideally, when you're working part-time and you're working with a small team like that, having a tool, whether it's ContentCal or not, but having a tool that helps you kind of do this stuff collaboratively is definitely critical, because like I've shown you, like being able to like pin ideas places and just makes that whole process a lot easier. But in answer to your question, yes, fewer higher quality posts is absolutely best. I don't subscribe to just chucking loads out for the sake of it. Definitely higher quality is where you want to go, for sure, Charlie.
Anonymous question, would it be best to have a target market, or would it be better to publish to everyone but tag etc. as you go through?
So it's both really. So like I said at the start, be very clear with try and be clear with your target, because that is what all of your research is going to be based on. Because that's the thing that really defines your content strategy. So like what you're seeing on the screen, that is a result of doing research. So yes, targeting is critical, or knowing your audience. It's not necessarily targeting. But yeah, tagging is critical to target people, because let's not forget, unless we're paying to post this content, unless we're doing paid ads, we can't really target on social, because it's a broad medium, it's a broad channel. So what we're doing is trying to be relevant by having our target audience, but we're not really targeting per se, because anyone can see it, but we're just trying to appeal to the people that we really want to appeal to. And, you know, as anonymous attendee says, tagging is the thing that will help you target it. So if you want certain people to see your content, then that's how you do it. But be very, very mindful though. Do not over tag, only tag when it's absolutely relevant. Yeah, because then you'll get dinged for spamming, and yeah, that's not fun.
One final question, again, it's Graham Forrester. Is it better to have a page for each event rather than one for the club as a whole?
No, so it'll dilute things far too much. The best thing you could probably do for clubs in general, if we're talking about Facebook specifically, I would run, if it were me, I would run them as groups, not pages. Groups drive better engagement than pages. Facebook just prefer groups to pages in general. It sees it as more valuable content. You also have an ability, and this might be, as a side note, this might be kind of content for a separate session just on Facebook and tactics around Facebook. But you can schedule events in Facebook groups, and that would be the best thing. So yeah, my answer to the question is no, I wouldn't recommend that. But my kind of general best practice is, yeah, Facebook groups are better than pages as a general rule. Log events underneath those.
That's it. That's all the questions. There are some other comments on the chat. They're just people chatting about a few bits and pieces, but that has been really, really insightful. We've still got 80 people watching, so we kept our audience, so that's really good. We've got the next one on Tuesday, the 15th of December at 7 o'clock. Andy, what's that one going to be about? What's the next marketing show going to be about?
So the marketing show is actually, rather than me talking about this like conceptually, we're going to be building a content plan live. So I'll actually be diving into kind of the research and building this and creating all of this content in front of your eyes. So essentially, it's going to be much more about a creative approach to that. So rather than kind of setting the scene as we've done today, I'll be doing the research in front of you, using these tools, building it in a content plan, and then coming up with on the spot, like creative approaches to like, what could we write and what can we add for this content? So it puts me on the spot a little bit, but I think that'll be fun and interactive.
It makes me think, is there homework that some of these guys can go and do if they start using some of those tools and thinking about the audience they want to target, thinking about the messaging, coming up with a bit of a plan? Would that be helpful in preparation for the next one, so they can then really start seeing it putting together and get a recap on everything?
Definitely, definitely. So my takeaway would be like, try and have a think about a potential persona. You don't have to go into the same amount of detail that I've covered here, but like who would you like to target? Definitely go and start checking out these tools. Honestly, spending an hour with those tools that I've used for research, the most important ones you need is ubersuggest.com, keyword.io, answerthepublic.com. Those three, spend an hour in those three and you'll come out much smarter than you went in. So that is, well, smarter about what you need to do, not in general. So yeah, go ahead and do that. And realistically, starting to get consistent with your content, starting to build that into a content plan. And if you could start to think of, you know, those 5 themes that we've been talking about, that would be really good. Yeah, those things.
Right. Well, we've been doing this for an hour and a quarter, so I think it's been really good. And I'm very grateful to you for putting yourself into doing this for us over the next 5 months. Hopefully everybody's enjoyed it, and we'll see you all hopefully on Tuesday, the 15th of December at 7 o'clock. Thanks very much for joining us all. Cheers.
Thanks very much. Appreciate it.